I used to participate in a group that did activities intended for children. We usually went to neighborhoods to make games for the kids and so on. On Halloween, we usually went to give candy to children while in costumes. That night, I was dressed up as the Joker. So I went to the meeting point and met the other guys and girls whom we were supposed to give candy. We were about 30 or 40 in the group. The night went as planned. We did some games and we handed out candy and said goodbye. 3 of my friends were there. After the activities were over, we sat on a bench and talked about random things. Eventually, we got to the topic of Halloween parties and how none of us had ever been to one. We really wanted to go to a party, dance, drink, and do teenager stuff. I'm kind of an introvert, but I've always tried to live my life so when I'm old, I don't have to regret not doing stuff, and partying was one of them. We called our friends, but no one knew of any party. Eventually, we got in touch with our friend Luis, who was 18 at the time, asking him if he wanted to do something. He told us he was going to round up a few people, and we could all go out in about 20 minutes. In those 20 minutes, we went to a friend's house, cleaned up, changed clothes, and then Luis called us back. He told us to go to a park nearby to get together. We went and we reunited with 6 of his friends. 4 of them we knew, the other 2 we didn't, but they were cool. We started thinking on what to do next because his house was now unavailable. We decided to go to a nearby skate park to see one of the guys do some tricks with his new skateboard. We were all impressed, but after a few minutes we got tired. After that, we went to the cemetery to tell horror stories. Luis asked us if we wanted to drink, so we went to a convenience store to get some alcohol. I think I have to say that in Chile, people from 16 on are expected, yet not legally allowed to drink unless they are with an adult. And we were with people from 18 to 21 years old. Adult age here is 18, which is also the drinking age. We had the alcohol, but we didn't have a place to go to drink. So we went to a forest that was about 15 minutes outside of town. We couldn't see anything, so we used our phones' flashlights. When we got to a nice quiet spot, we lit up a fire. We made sure there were no flammable material nearby, and in front of us was an open field, and behind us was a wall of bushes. As the night went on, we spent hours listening to music and drinking, telling funny stories, laughing, and playing tag. It was a really good time, until it wasn't. Before continuing, I think I have to explain what a flaite is. In Chile, a flaite is like a gangster. They tend to form gangs. Those who are in gangs tend to be really violent and short-tempered. They usually carry firearms or knives. This is a really vague description, as not all flaites are bad people, and some are very friendly, but it serves the story, so I think it's good enough. Anyway, after a while of dancing and drinking, we were kind of wasted, except for Luis, his girlfriend, and her sister, all of which decided to remain sober in case something came up. We played hide and seek and tag. It was really funny and a very good time. Then while we were dancing, we heard something in the bushes. We thought it was an animal like a rat or bird, so we didn't think much about it. Then we continued to dance. I remember seeing clear as day a stone going a few centimeters away from my leg. I thought Luis kicked it, and I told him to stop. He laughed it off and thought I was drunk and joking. While I was kind of wasted, I was still in my senses. Then I saw another rock going in front of my eyes. It seemed like it was in slow motion. I looked up and I saw on Luis' face a sheer expression of horror. I got scared as well. The only thing he said to me was to run. I looked at him with a confused expression, and then he yelled, "Run, someone is throwing rocks." I ran back to the town, to the houses and the lights. Behind me, people were screaming, "Run and hurry." I ran as fast as I could. I was kind of drunk, and the terrain was really muddy. It was very dark and I couldn't see where I was going. All I knew was that I was running towards the lights. I ran until I reached the same spot where we came from, already in town, then waited. I was alone and no one came. I didn't know where my friends were. After a while, a friend of mine showed up. He screamed at me, Give me your jacket or something." They hit Fred on the head. When they came closer to the light, I saw him helping the other up to walk. Upon seeing his face, blood was running down and dripping. I immediately gave him my jacket and called an ambulance. Then some of my other friends came one by one. They all went to Luis' place because it was nearby. Then Luis came asking where his girlfriend and sister-in-law were. I told them that they didn't come through. We sent everyone to his house and waited for the 2 missing people. We were ready to go and face the people throwing rocks in case they were doing something to them, but then they appeared. His girlfriend was hysterically screaming, "They hit my sister, they hit her, she's bleeding." We went to her and the whole side of her face was covered in blood. We rushed her to Luis' house and made sure we were all there. Finally, we calmed down and the ambulance came. The 2 who got hit went with them. Then we called the cops. I remember some of us being in shock, others were angry, and others were kind of in the middle ground. Luis was raging. "These damn kids," he kept saying. We didn't know who threw the rocks. I thought we got in the terrains of someone without knowing, and the owner tried to scare us away. But my friends told me they saw a group of people hiding in the bushes. We left everything at the bonfire, the skateboard, the speaker, and some wallets. For me, I had everything safe. Luis then told me and my friends, "Let's find these guys. Let's call up some people and go after them." I was mad, but I wanted to retrieve some of the stuff, so I told him we would go, but if there were too many of them, we would turn back. He called a few of his friends, and in 5 minutes they were with us. I knew them because of some school stuff, but they were very loyal, and they both went to the gym. They were big guys, so I felt safe when they came. Eventually, we went out to look for the people who threw rocks. When we were about a block away from the forest, we saw them, walking with our speaker, the skateboard, and other stuff we left there. It was almost like a Mexican stand-up. We were a block away from them and we just stared at each other. There were about 15 of them and only 6 of us, so we didn't do anything and just turned back. As we got a good look at them, they were clearly flighties, gangsters, so they probably had guns and knives. When we came back home, we ran into the police car. There were 2 of them and one got out of the car. We told them we called and explained the situation very fast because we didn't want the guys to run away. However, the officer told us, "You were drinking, being minors, and then got attacked?" We told him yes, then he responded with the most upsetting thing ever. "So you minors were drinking, doing a bonfire at the forest in the middle of the night, and now you're asking me to give you justice? Don't you kids realize how hypocritical you are?" I responded with, "We were in supervision of 3 adults, and not because we were drinking we deserve rocks being thrown at our heads." He looked at me with an expression of pure hatred. I was really scared but angry as well. He then repeated himself. We told him the guys were running away as we spoke, but he kept saying it was our fault as we were the ones in that situation. After a few minutes, the one inside the car told the other, "Let's find the other people, then we can question these kids," and the other cop got inside the car. We waited at the house, but they never came back. Eventually, we all went to our respective homes. Luis told us the next day that the policemen never returned. So that's my story. It was a really scary moment, but now when I remember it, it kind of makes me smile because I have a good story to tell in moments like this. The 2 that got sent to the hospital had to get stitches and were hospitalized for a couple of days. After a few days, we spoke of it like it was nothing, but we were really angry at the police. This story takes place around the end of January 2020. For reference, I'm a 19-year-old female and I'm about 5'4". This takes place in Canada, and where I live in Canada, we tend to have a pretty cold winter that stays until the end of March. But this year it seemed as if Mother Nature had no interest in sticking around, which meant I could walk with my winter jacket open at night. Anyways, I'm a college student, and my university is all the way across the city from where I live. With the bus, it takes me about an hour and a half to get home, latest being 2 hours if it's a snowstorm. This semester, I was taking a night class that normally ends at 9 p.m. On this particular night, we did an extra half hour because we had an in-class test at the end of the week. This extra half hour was optional, but since I needed help, I decided to stay. Me staying resulted in me missing the safe bus, which was essentially the bus whose last stop was the local mall, which is where my mom would pick me up. If I wanted to take this safe bus, I would have to wait 1 hour for the next one, or I could wait another 5 minutes and catch the bus that would take me straight to my house. I was exhausted because I'd been on campus since 8 a.m. and it was overall a chilly day, so I decided to just catch the bus that was coming in 5 minutes. I should tell you that I do not live in the safest neighborhood. It's not the most dangerous one in my city, but I'd say it's in the top 5 of the most dangerous neighborhoods out here. So the bus ride is fine. I saw the local crackheads, which was nothing new to me, and after about an hour and a half, I get off at my bus stop, which is along this busy road, and I start walking home. About 2 streets from where I have to turn to get on my home street, I see these drunk men standing outside of the bar that's located on the corner. These men, they don't actually touch me or anything, but they're very vocal about things. They tend to catcall and harass women, but I'm used to it. However, today I was not in the mood, so I decided to turn 1 street before mine and then just cut through my back lane. As I turn on the street, I can see a man walking on the same sidewalk going in the same direction, so I decided to go to the opposite sidewalk. He was quite tall and skinny, but he was about 30 or 40 feet ahead of me, plus he didn't see me, so I didn't think much of it. Now that night was very clear and the stars were shining super bright, so as I was walking, I decided to look up and admire them. I kept walking, and then I also stopped and took a picture. So I stood there looking at the stars for maybe 20 seconds and decided to continue walking. I looked to see where the man was and just caught him turning left. I had to continue going straight, so I kept walking. Plus it was a very quiet night, so I figured I would hear someone if they were behind me. I live nearby a train track, and as I crossed the train tracks and took about 10 steps forward, I heard a tapping noise behind me. I looked back and saw the same man from before, speed walking about 35 feet behind me, tapping along the side of the cars parked at the side. As soon as we made eye contact, he slowed down and looked up as if he were looking for something. I didn't want to assume anything yet, so I decided to start skipping while also trying to be a bit faster. I looked behind me again, and this man was now maybe 25 feet behind me, so I booked it. I ran so fast because the back lane to my house was super close. As I was sprinting and went to turn the corner to get to my back lane, I looked to my side and saw the man running also. I felt my heart drop to my stomach, and I just prayed I could quickly get to the front of my house quick. I ran and thankfully got to the front, but I didn't have my keys out yet, and I'm out of breath, panicking while looking for them. Finally, after what felt like hours, I got my keys and opened the door and slammed it shut. I caught my breath before going up the stairs because I didn't want to freak my parents out. It's safe to say that I won't be taking any late classes for a while. I had just moved to a new college town for grad school. I didn't have a cell phone yet after leaving the one my parents paid for during my undergrad years behind. I was out shopping for school supplies and things for my new apartment one evening during my first week of classes. As I left the parking lot with my purchases, I noticed this truck pull up behind me at the exit. It was late and there weren't too many people out. I pulled out and so did he. It was a few miles down a long retail street with lots of stoplights before my turn. As I drove, I realized the guy in the truck was trying to get my attention. I wasn't interested, so I ignored him. Over the next few miles, he kept trying to get me to look at him. Some red lights he would end up ahead of me, some behind, or some beside. At every light, he positioned himself so he could stare at me, either directly or in one of his mirrors. His gaze was unwavering and my anxiety rose. He was driving oddly, speeding up close to my bumper, hitting his brakes when he was in front of me, swerving close to my car a couple of times. Finally, at a red light where he was beside me, I glanced over and absolutely started to panic when I was met with an unbelievably empty, unwavering stare and realized he was fiddling with himself. He was getting off on the fact that I was terrified and he was following me and trying to force me to pull over. At one point, I scooted through an intersection on a hard yellow a couple cars ahead of him, thinking I could shake him. He went around the cars at the light and ran the red and got right back in front of me. A freeway entrance ramp came up and I tried to fake him out by putting on my signal and getting into the merge lane. He took the bait and started up the ramp. I quickly got out of the merge lane and continued straight. Again, I'd hoped to lose him, but he drove his truck down the embankment to keep following. At another light where he was beside me, I pulled through the light and then turned at the last possible second. He made a U-turn and ran another red to follow me. My panic really ramped up at this point. With no cell phone, no sense of direction in a new city, I really didn't know what to do. So I turned on the radio and forced myself to sing along and go the speed limit so I wouldn't crash out of terrified stupidity. I decided to drive to the supermarket across town because I remembered it had a police station in it. He followed me all the way there. He burned out the lot as soon as he saw all the cop cruisers parked out front. I filed a report and asked for a police escort home. I insisted because something told me this creep was waiting for me to leave the station. He was. As soon as I pulled out, I saw him. I pulled over and told the officer following me, and he went after him, but the truck had taken off and the cop couldn't catch him. The police got the surveillance video from the first store. It turned out this jerk had been watching me the entire time I was shopping. I saw him on surveillance footage following me through the store. I saw him follow me out, close enough to grab my elbow. I saw footage of him circling the lot in his truck, waiting for me to pull out when I took too long to unload my cart. My heart sank. I was able to remember 6 of 7 digits on his license plate and the make and model of his truck. In the end, the cops did nothing. They said it was a he said, she said situation, since the surveillance video didn't catch him doing anything particularly unlawful, and it was a losing case to try to charge him with anything. I ended up trading vehicles with a friend for a couple of months to try to feel safe and went on with my life. I had no idea what this disgusting sicko did just a few months later, until almost 15 years had passed. I was watching a Discovery ID show about the kidnapping and murder of Sandy Jeffers. I almost fell out of my seat when I saw the mugshot of her killer, Aaron Lee Skeen. It was him. I was so disgusted that law enforcement did nothing in my case that I tracked down the investigator in the murder case. And after verifying some things about his vehicle that was changed in the TV reenactment to weed out people making stuff up, she took my contact info and official statement. She could neither confirm nor deny that my run-in was with Skeen, but qualified her statement by saying, "At least you don't have to worry about him anymore because he got life without parole." I only wish something could have been done when he terrorized me. Perhaps then things would have been different for Sandy.